A pleasant good morning to everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Yours truly, Carlos Brown. Good morning to everybody. Guest menu for today, October the 4th, Coach Kevin Johnson, Southern University men's basketball coach. I want to move into a little basketball. I wonder why. But he'll join us. He'll be coming off the court after practice. They're getting ready for their opening game. So Kevin Johnson is our special guest for the day in the guest menu. Now, here's what's trending. Southern University loses to Jackson State for the 7th straight time. Can Southern University football overcome adversity? That is the big question that we're going to get into today on the show. And then we'll, of course, have our SWAC Football Report. Let me get the panel in here. I have a lot to say. The panel has a lot to say, so we'll bring them in one by one as we wait on them. Southern and Jackson State. And you know, I'm thinking of something that Willa Brown talked about. It's a game that you'll feel good if you win as an alum and supporter, but if you lose, you're going to feel bad. And just disappointment all across the stadium, a huge crowd, almost 28,000 people. By the way, congratulations to Jackson State and the fans, the back and forth. It is truly a good rivalry. But right now, Jackson State runs off their 7th straight victory. And with one more victory, it'll be 8 straight. And Southern University previously won 8 straight games. So with that being said, we'll get into it. But where is the panel? I'm looking for the panel. There they go. All righty. I was getting a little worried there, but
go right high, Carlos.
Carlos, I was having flashback from last week. I'm like, what in the devil's going
on? Carlos, we wouldn't let you face the firing squad alone, baby. We're all going down together.
Hey, and I'll face it. And but good morning to everybody. Good afternoon to Wheeler, and good morning to Charles. They have a big game coming up. We'll get into that. Alcorn State and Prairie View. Wheeler, I thought about what you said last week.
Mm-hmm.
And you said it could be a feel-good game, but if you're the loser of that game, you're going to feel bad.
Mm-hmm.
And the context was, I had said that although if Southern loses, they're still in the hunt for the Western Division. But you're absolutely right. A lot of the Jaguar Nation feel really bad. It was a hype, pumped-up crowd. And so you can't say it's more than one loss, but emotionally, it's more than a one-game, a one-game loss. Because
it is, Carlos. But the bottom line was you guys lost to a better team.
That is true.
At the end of the day.
Yep.
You know, you lost to a better team. And to me, there's no crime in that. You know, sure, I just think the fans, and it's hard for fans to do, need to back down, chill down, whatever it is down that they need to, right now, and rally behind the coach and let's go. You still, like I said before, you still got all your goals ahead of you, no doubt about that. And granted, it may have been Celebration Bowl or bust or what have you. I just feel that, all of the chatter, so to speak, needs to just die down. This, folk talking about coach need to go and all this sort of thing and stuff. Come on now. Let's not be ridiculous about this thing. You lost to a better team. You're going to lose to better teams from time to time. Sometimes you'll rise up and, bite the dog in the butt, that sort of thing. But unfortunately, this wasn't one of those times. So let's just rally behind Coach Graves, Southern fans, and let's push these kids on, and nothing but positives to these kids, that sort of thing. And let's get ready for the next challenge.
Well, the title of the show basically saying, can the Southern University football team overcome adversity? I've talked about in the past, you're going to have a point in the season that you have to overcome, whether it's a bad injury or a loss. But I will acknowledge what you said, though. When you lose to this type of game,
Mm-hmm.
you don't feel good. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and what you said, I agree with. However, and but comes in. Let me personally say I'm going to support Coach Graves, and I continue to support Coach Graves and this football team. But the big question is, can they overcome adversity? Because it is adversity block in front of you. Coach,
And the bye week comes at a bad time, Carlos. Because from this
makes it
point of view,
worse.
you want to get right back out there and get back at it. And there's going to be a tendency for this to linger on a few more days than it should, that sort of thing. So, I'm kind of antsy about that. But the coaches got to do a great job of staying in the kids' heads and circling the wagons, that sort of thing, keeping everything on the positive, and let's go. Let's just get ready. Let's go. Still got a lot of season left in front of you, like I said. Let's just gather these kids around, keep it positive, and let's move forward.
Well, Coach Pettaway, we'll see what you have to say, and then we'll get to Charles.
Well, I agree with Wheeler. I think the fans need to relax just a little bit. You lost the game to a very, very good Jackson State team. But here's the thing. To me now, the bye week could be a blessing in disguise. Because number one, you can get some people back who were little knick-knack injuries. And at the same time, you got a chance to settle your team down. And you take this week and work on things that you have fell short of in these first 4 games, right? You look at that, you work on those situations, the things that you want to get better at. You got the opportunity to do it with this bye week. And so it's like having a restart coming off the bye week. So I look at it in a positive way. I don't look at the bye week as being negative. Yes, you do want to try to get right back in the fire, but your fire is burning a little low, so you try to find fuel for that fire. And you do that by getting back, rallying around the kids, getting the kids to refocus, get back some of the kids who are hurt, and then you get a chance to sit back as a coaching staff and evaluate what is taking place. You change coordinators. You got to look at all of that stuff, man, and you got to give it some time. So now that they got a few extra days to prepare, I think it's still a different product on the field. And I'm still supporting Coach Graves and those kids. More important, the players. See, we as coaches, we can take the criticism, but the Jaguar Nation got to be very careful now. Don't hurt your upcoming class of recruits, and don't kill the spirit of the kids that are on campus now. So that's why I think you have to be very, 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 very cautious in these next couple of weeks. And I think they'll rebound. You say, can they recover? Yes. Adversity brings out the best in some people. So this is an opportunity for them to reset and move forward.
Charles?
I agree with what Wheeler Brown said about this bye week. I've been thinking about it because you all have had 2 bye weeks now, and after a tough loss like that to Jackson State, a game that gets a lot of oxygen, you lose that way at home for the second time this season. It does tend to linger, and I would think, well, I would like to see Southern play a game this week so he can quickly move forward, but that's not the case. And you have to move forward and get ready to go to Daytona in a very big game. it's early, Carlos. And look, I'm saying this for Southern University, but you can have the same conversation right here. I'm at Jack Spinks Marino Castleman Stadium. You can have the same conversation as far as Alcorn is concerned. We're in the same boat. I got one paddle, Carlos. You got another paddle. We try to get somewhere. Because what people are saying about Coach Graves, and I totally disagree with this whole chant of getting rid of him. You just played for the SWAC championship last year, and if you're talking about moving on, what did last year mean? Did it not mean anything in terms of you're playing for a SWAC championship? This is Coach Graves' second year. All that, I totally disagree with it. But this is Cedric Thomas' second season as well. But I think the difference is that these last few games have not been good, and Braves fans are getting very impatient. But we're at home, our first home game of the year, and hopefully we can turn it around because our season's on the line. Brady's rolling right now. But as far as Southern is concerned, I think that there's still time, but it's starting to get late. You know, you got a bye week to fix whatever ails you. You got to go to Florida. You know, Bethune's waiting on you. It's not easy to win at Daytona Stadium. You lose that game, then you got Prairie View. And right now, Prairie View has kind of been the driver's seat right now. They're 2-0. They're 2-0 in the division. They have a very unique schedule. They beat Texas Southern division game. They beat Grambling last week division game. They got Alcorn here today division game. Prairie View wins this game. They're 3-0 and 3-0 division. And so this is the game of the week here on the Western Division side. So for all the talk about Prairie View, Southern hosts Prairie View in a few weeks. This division race could tilt heavily in Prairie View's favor in the next few weeks. But what I see in Southern University, Carlos, the same thing with Alabama State and Jackson. In the first half, it was right there. But then in the second half, the wheels come off the truck. So I think they've got to figure out a way to fix that. I think Southern had a turnover late in the first half that kind of changed momentum. So they've been right there in the first half. But it's a 4-quarter game. You got to come out in the second half. And Southern has that at home the last two games.
Well, I went back and looked at it. It's a carbon copy minus a few things against the first game of the season. Here's what I mean. Southern, you remember, against Jackson State, Trey Holly, 73-yard touchdown run. The crowd goes nuts. Just like in the North Carolina Central game, the very next series, Southern actually had Jackson State 3-0, and the momentum is still building. It wasn't a turnover. It was an undisciplined play. They're putting back inside their 5-yard line. Perfect. You set up the punt return. You're up, and you just come off a big running play. A player runs into the kicker. That was huge. That was huge. And I said to myself, uh-oh. They go 97 yards, Jackson State, and they touch it off with a 51-yard pass with 2 seconds left in the half. That's momentum right there. It's snatched. And then in the second half, here's another thing. No points in the second half. Big play, score, take the lead. Defense gives up a big play. Penalties, both teams, over 26 penalties, 200-something yards. You just can't have that. So that's what I mean about the game was a carbon copy of North Carolina Central. They didn't score in the second half against North Carolina Central. They didn't score in the second half against Jackson State, and they were outscored 21-0. Penalties. So I'm thinking, Coach Pettaway and Wheeler, y'all have coached.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about it. Or if you're in a classroom, education, you're prepping them for the test. You put all the things in place, but they go out and make a bad play like that. And then Jackson State adjustments. I saw a film of a clip of at halftime. Jackson State up. Coach T.T. Taylor simply said, "That's not who we are in the first half. We got to come out and play better." And that's basically all he said. He wasn't ranting and raving. He's always cool, Mo D. And they went out and shut him out. So that's the most disappointing. And I still ask the question from an emotional standpoint, where is this football team? If you put them in place to make plays, if you get beat by a better team, I can accept that. But some of the self-inflicted wounds are still the same from game 1 to game 3. Coach Pettaway and Willa Brown. How do you address that? Because ultimately it's going to fall back on you guys as the coach and the staff.
Well, I think I promise you, I think Coach Graves and his staff, you got to look at that staff now. Those are veteran coaches. They've been there, done this before. They know how to rally the troops. All they got to do is sit those kids down and get them to understand that the season is still young. I mean, you still got goals that you can reach in this season. So they just got to do a reset. And that goes, and that a lot of times that means going back to the basics. You start with the basics, man, and you work your way back up. Carlos, you work on the things that you come up short on. You work on those things, and then you talk about having that discipline. When you have all those penalties, a lot of times that's because you're not being disciplined. So you talk about that to the kids so that they understand that if they cut out some of those penalties, their season is a whole different season. That and most of the time, you can reach those kids. They understand it. They want to win. They know the work that they put in. They don't want to see it to be for naught. So that they're going to go there. I think this time and this opportunity to reset, I think you all should see a different ball club when they hit the field again.
And guys, the hardest thing for a kid to do is to keep their emotions in check.
Right.
That's the hardest thing. It's not about where to line up and where to go, what route to run, and things of that nature. It's about them as individuals and who they are, keeping their emotions in check. And that's difficult. That's something, Carlos, you really can't coach. You just try to ingrain that, into them as much as possible. At the same time, when you are kind of used to bad things happening to you, sometimes you have a tendency to wait for the other foot to drop or the shoe to drop, whatever that is, and by them being snake bit, so to speak, there probably is a tendency somewhere in the back of their minds, like, same time 3 weeks ago, this happened, that sort of thing. And, so they're waiting for something bad to happen. And sure enough, if you wait for something bad to happen, 9 times out of 10, something bad gonna happen.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a thing of, and that's another reason why I was saying that for me, it'd be getting back out there as quickly as possible. But it is what it is. So as Coach Pettaway said, you might as well take that time to go back to basics, work on the things that got you playing Southern University football in the beginning. You're not a bad team. And that's my message to the kids, to the coaches, that sort of thing. You don't have a bad team. Let's not get this twisted. You're not bad at all. We have to cut down on our mistakes. We have to do the things well that we're capable of doing. Stay away from doing things that we don't do as well. And let's go. Bottom line, let's go.
Well,
And I think if we take it from there, one step at a time, one play at a time, one possession at a time, that sort of thing. I think you'll see these boys get back on track. But as Charles was saying, you know, things got to be turned up a notch now because you're going into a critical part of your season. Number one, you don't want to get too far behind the leaders on your side of the conference right now, and if you should go 4 games down, it could be a death sentence for you overall. But at the same time, like we said, still got your goals right there in front of you. Still got a bunch of things to play for. So guys, we just need to rally around these guys. And as Coach Pettaway said, you know, keep it positive with the kids as much as possible. Because as he said, while coaches are able to take the criticism and all that sort of thing and stuff, these kids, and like I said, they're kids, they take these things to heart. And if it's any inkling that folk aren't behind them, that sort of thing, that gets in their mind, that stays in their mind, and then you got hell on your hands trying to get them back to normal.
Yeah, because I saw some things on the sideline. I know it's frustration against a big rival. And again, let me stop right here and say congratulations to JSU. They are a solid football team. They came out in the second half and said, whatever success you had, we're going to stop it. Southern, once again, rush. In any other season, 180 yards on the ground, wouldn't you say would be successful? But 73 of them came from a big play. Offensively, just not consistent. 120 yards passing. And they had the third quarterback in Ashton, and Jackson State did something smart. They was like, okay, he's coming in. We're going to throw everything at him as far as blitz packages and pressure. And he seemed to be a bit confused. So, once again, Jackson State is a good football team. Congratulations to them. Now, with that being said, I've been telling some of my Jackson State friends, and I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, be very careful of a team in Alabama State. And that's going to be a big one coming up for homecoming. But we'll leave it right there, Coach Pettaway. Coach Pettaway, Alabama State.
Yep.
I know your guys, Wheeler, A&T, Charles Grambling State. I'm a Southern alum. Coach Pettaway, you pull for Alabama A&M. It's been tough, but Alabama A&M, and I thought about what you said with their quarterback going down, but they were still there, and I still have them trending upward, and they have a big game in Mobile today. So things will get a little bit clearer, but for Southern, the room of error, the margin of error is slim. Well, it's not wide open as it was in the beginning of the season, because the Alabama State game and the Valley game didn't count in the conference. But if that would have counted, you would have two losses right now in the conference. And to Charles' point, Prairie View, they don't have to play Jackson State. They don't have to play FAMU. And by the way, I got some comments about FAMU along with Southern. They have Alabama State, I believe. So, but from the division point, they win today, as Charles stated. They're in a sweet, nice position. And they will be leading the pack, and they're leading it now in the Western Division.
Well, Carlos,
go ahead.
About just Jackson State. Jackson State's a good team. We all know that. They won the trifecta last year. They won the division. They won the SWAC. They won the Celebration Bowl. They're really good. I've read the comments that have said, well, Jackson can be had. Well, yeah, that's true. But they're still a really good team. And anytime you're playing a good team, two things have to happen. Number one, you have to be on your A game. Okay? Southern University through the first half was that, on their A game, close game. But then the other side of it, the team with the advantage has to be a little bit off too. And I think both things happened in that first half. Carlos, you mentioned how the script flipped on one play. So yes, Southern played really well through the first part of the game, but Jackson State might have been a little bit off too, thanks to Southern University. But when you're playing a good team, you cannot afford to give easy opportunities to a good team. Jackson, they're playing really well right now, and they got a big test in Mobile today, and we'll see if Brown will play. I think it's a difference maker for them. But I think Jackson's a really good team, and I thought Southern just gave everything they had in the first half. But again, just little things have to get cleaned up going forward if Southern's going to be in this thing going down the stretch.
Yeah, and when you look at it, and I've said this, and people may disagree, and that's fine. If you look at the last couple of years against their opponent of equal value or better, they've struggled.
Yeah.
They win the games, quote unquote, that they're supposed to win. But if you think about it, the past 3 years before this year, the defense was better, and they kept them in a lot of games. They did over their balance of work. But now this year, the defense is not up to the standard of the last couple of years. Now the offense, still with their struggles, the offense have had their struggles for the last couple of years. And then, special teams and the little things that you hurt you. That is where you see the frustration. And a huge crowd there, a huge crowd. I mean, it was there. Again, I would feel better if you play the best that you could play. And I don't know, Charles. I still don't think they played the best that they could play. But in the first half, they played much better. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
And then in the second half, to lose it, and then the fans just are really, really, really frustrated. And I'm not judging the fans. The fan part of me is frustrated as well. But at the end of the day, you still got to push forward. And if it doesn't go well in the next 2 games, literally, the Western Division title is out of reach. Then you're playing for pride. Then you're playing to see how this team mentally and physically would perform. So on that note, we're going to take a timeout. Our special guest is Kelvin Johnson, basketball. And, we kind of had a talk. And he basically said you have to try to block out all of the noise outside and really focus hard at the task at hand. But when we come back, we'll give you the stats, and it does tell a story. But we'll come back after this timeout. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. We shall return.
Football fans, the Cricket Celebration Bowl is celebrating 10 years of crowning an HBCU national champion. A champion will rise at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on December 13th as the MEAC and SWAC champions clash in Atlanta. Join us for championship football, interactive fan experiences, and iconic marching bands. It's an HBCU family reunion that you don't want to miss. See who will be crowned the next HBCU national champion. For event and ticket information, visit thecelebrationbowl.com.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. Whether you're a student or a lifelong supporter, our gear lets you wear your HBCU story with confidence and style. Because when you wear HBCU Image, you're not just wearing clothes. You're wearing culture. You're wearing pride. You're wearing purpose. HBCU.
With over 25 years of serving our communities, Destiny Financial Services, a division of Global Life, is here to help you and your family through difficult times. From cancer care to accidental industries to cardiac care, we all know that there are times that you can't control what happens in your life, but you can be prepared to weather the storm when it comes. Call DFS at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at www.globelifeinsurance.com. That is 877-300-8269. 8269, or again, the website at www.globelifeinsurance.com.
ESPN Events presents Red Lobster Band of the Year, a title reserved for elite HBCU marching bands. A season-long competition that culminates in Atlanta on Friday, December 12th. Drum majors, percussion, drill, auxiliaries, musicality. All aspects will be examined by the toughest judges in the world of college bands. 4 will qualify for the big stage, where national champions will be crowned. Follow us on social media for rankings updates throughout the season. And join us in Atlanta on December 12th. For event and ticket information, visit bandoftheyear.com.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Kind of getting my energy back a little bit now. starting to feel a little better, and going in the chat room during the break always get your spirit up. Jackson State alums, they should be happy. They should be proud. But now they have to move on, just like Southern, after a 38-13 loss by Southern University. Of course, Southern University, no points in the second half, 17-13 at the half. But boy, I laid out the scenario that running into the punter, that just took the momentum right away. And then a couple of plays later, big play, right with about 3 seconds on the clock, 51-yard touchdown pass. That was the dagger, in my humble opinion. Net yards rushing, Jackson State 197, Southern 180. Jackson State averaged 4.7 yards per carry, Southern 5.6. Net yards passing, 337 for Jackson State, 120 for Southern. Southern was 10 of 20, 50%. Morgan, what I like about him, he manages his game well, ball security. He doesn't try to do too much. He just leads. Coach Pettaway, he's like an Obi-Trotter at the point guard, the point guard position. Penalties, 13 for Jackson State, 107. I see in the chat room they're saying the officials in Baton Rouge again. Please, can we get off of that? Can we get off of that? Because Southern had 13 for 111. That's all I can say about that. Get off of that, Jackson State fans. Get off of that. Also, 534 yards total offense for Jackson State, 300 for Southern University. And we'll give some more stats throughout the show. But we've talked in the first half, Southern University. Once again, congratulations to Jackson State.
Carlos, let me add something. Let me add.
Look, Willa, they win the game, and as soon as I said that, congratulations, a bird hits the door. Really? I'm serious. A bird just hit the door. Unbelievable. Maybe that's the spirit of the Jaguar Nation saying, look, let's get this thing turned around.
Let me add something, Carlos, real quick. For all those folk out there that are talking about we need a new coach and all that sort of thing and stuff, let me let you guys know something that's a fact. Number one, you ain't letting nobody go during the middle of the year. That's first off. Then number two, you want to be very wary about that kind of chatter. Coach Banks is tied to Coach Graves at the hip. It's my guy. I hired him. He's my guy. We ride till the wheels come off. There are no ifs, ands, and buts about that. And hopefully, he can't be swayed in terms of the chatter hitting his ear. Because the chatter going to be just as loud coming towards him as it is coming towards Coach Graves. But I'm sure, he realized this. He's been around a while. He got to let folk know, this is my guy. This is who we hired. This is who we're going with. We're going to make sure he has all the things necessary in order to be successful, and we're going to support him at each and every turn. Period. Question. End of statement. Full stop. This is it. And then fans need to know this. You let the last coach go after 2 years. Now you want to let another coach go after 2 years? Who you gonna hire of substance that's gonna want that job?
Yep.
Knowing that if I don't get it done in 2 years, I'm gonna be out of here. You may get a decent coach somewhere, but you're gonna get somebody that's got some baggage that's coming behind them. Number one, and then number two, they're gonna try to break the bank simply because you have a history of letting coaches go after a couple years. So I'm gonna want a salary that's out of the ballpark. No doubt about that. And that ain't so. You don't want to get that reputation of being a school that you're going to change coaches every couple years. You want the opposite reputation in terms of coaches wanting to come and stay, longevity being the key, that sort of thing. So once again, I'll say this: get behind the man you have. He's a good man. He's a good coach. Stick with him. Let's make sure he has everything he needs to be successful, and let's ride it. Let's ride it from there.
Yeah.
I get off the soapbox now.
No, I understand. On the show, you can give your opinions, and you don't have to worry about it. I mean, they're disagreeing with me in the chat room right now. I kind of like it though. About officiating, Coach Pettaway. I'm not going to get into officiating because somebody's always unhappy about officiating. No matter if you're watching the NFL, college basketball, they're human and they make mistakes. Yeah. But at the bottom line, what you need to do is make sure that you are disciplined and it doesn't cost you a ball game.
Well, the JSU fans, they should really be happy now because even if they're saying that the officiating wasn't what they wanted, they still got out of there with a win and a convincing win. So that's what they need to be looking at. And when we look at the SWAC this year in football, I think it's safe to say that the top three teams would be Jackson State, Alabama State, and Prairie View. Now, what do all three of those teams have in common? Their offenses and their defenses are in the top half of the conference. So they're getting it done on both sides of the ball. So that's what has to happen. If these teams want to improve, you got to have offense. And right now, Southern's on the average of 15 points a game. So they got to find something on the offensive end. Then they got to turn around and be able to stop somebody. Now, in our case at Alabama A&M, we can score. We're not stopping anybody, especially through the run. When you score late against Bethune-Cookman, you go up, the game is yours. All you got to do is play some defense, and you give up a game-winning touchdown. So you can't – defense wins games. Defense wins championships. You got to be able to do it on both sides of the ball. We got the offense, and Bulldog Nation, some of our people, they're not happy with our defense because we give up too many points. So to be in that top echelon, the three teams that are leading the SWAC right now, their offenses are in the top three, their defenses are in the top 3 or 4. And that's what you got to have. You got to have some parity on both sides. You got to be able to play offense and defense.
Well, Carl, I have a question for you. Okay, so here we are. And again, our fans are just as frenzied as Jaguar fans are with our situation here, second-year coach and all that. But I look at Coach Graves and the job that he's done, and people are saying it's time for Coach Graves to go. But the previous coach, Coach Dooley, in his second season, he was let go after the Alcorn game right here. I can remember when the offense was struggling with Coach Dooley being the OC, and people said it's time to make changes. He didn't, and he wound up costing them. To right now, the offense is struggling. Coach Graves did make some adjustments on the offensive side, and it's still a struggle. I'm trying to compare and contrast the difference in what Coach Graves is doing or not doing compared to the previous coach and what Coach what Coach Dooley did or did not do. Coach Graves at least is trying to turn over a stone, a rock, or two, or three, or four to try to fix it. Where Coach Dooley was, coaches are stubborn anyway, but Coach Dooley believed in his offensive system, and that was probably part of the reason why they made the change in part. So what's the difference between what Southern's dealing with now compared to the previous situation in which you had Dooley let go, a year after he made the championship game?
Well, you remember we kind of discussed this a couple of weeks ago, and I'm still going to be consistent with it. Some things that everybody doesn't know, but I laid the scenario out, Coach Pettaway. Your AD comes to you, and you're struggling, and he says, "How can we help you out? Is there anything we can do?" And so they did that. And if your response is, "No, I got this. I don't need anybody help. I'm the offensive coordinator, and I'll correct whatever needs to be done." And then you didn't. And remember that conversation. I think it was the presentation of how I would have answered Willa Brown and Coach Pettaway. Yeah, you're the AD. Yeah, we've struggled, and we're still gonna fight. And if I need help, I will definitely come and talk with you.
But see, then I'm gonna judge you a different kind of way.
Yeah, but
if
right.
If I've stuck it out there and I'm helping you all I can, that sort of thing, and you'll know, Mr. Brown, I got this, that sort of thing. Not that I'm feeling a certain kind of way because you turned down my help, but you need to understand that I'm quote unquote evaluating you, on this entire picture, and at the end of the day, the evaluation might not go your way, simply because you didn't do X, Y, Z, that sort of thing. So, if somebody's offering you help, you definitely want to take them up on that help. But from a coaching point of view, we've been known to be stubborn, that sort of thing, and get out of the way, shut up, let me do this, I know what I'm doing, all that sort of thing and stuff. We can get in our feelings, so to speak, but we can't do that to the point where, we are alienating people, to the point where, all right, you got this. I ain't gonna help you. You don't want my help, but I gotta grade you accordingly.
Right. But now, Will, when it comes to help now, do I need help because schematically I'm not doing things right? Or is it because the people that I was depending on in terms of players, I've got a bunch of injuries? So you got to look at it both ways now.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Right.
Yes, you do. And Coach Pettaway, if that's the issue, then I know that going into the conversation, and it's something that you, as being Coach Pettaway, needs to reemphasize to me. Well, look, Wheeler, we got 2 or 3 kids hurt, kids that we were depending on, that sort of thing. I made a couple of mistakes in the recruiting process, and thought some kids could play. They got here, found out that they couldn't play, that sort of thing. And Coach Pettaway, I ain't got no problem with that at all. Right. Come to me just like that, and we cool. I'm still in your corner. I'm still fighting for you all the way. And those are the talking points that I'm putting out there to the alums and things of that nature. Right. Where he made, Coach Pettaway made a couple mistakes on some kids in the recruiting process. Nobody should have to bat 1,000 in the recruiting process, and, we're just looking to move forward from there. He's had some injuries to some key kids. That's one reason why we're not excelling in a particular area, that sort of thing. You guys need to know this. I'm still behind him 1,000%. We're going to get this ship right. Let's go and keep it moving. And then we go from there.
Right. And Charles, when you do the comparison between what Coach Dooley did and what's happening with Coach Graves now, Coach Dooley was the offensive coordinator, and he had his quarterback who he wanted to run his show, right? Coach Graves, they're playing their third string quarterback. And that's due to what? Injuries or ineffectiveness in the other kids? I think more so injuries, right? So to me, you have to take all of that into consideration. Yeah, to me, it's two totally different things. First of all, Coach Graves is not the offensive coordinator. Their offense is inept because right now their quarterback situation is not where it needs to be for Coach Graves. Yeah. Coach Dooley had the guy that he wanted, and he rolled and he said, "I'm gonna ride or die with it." He just happened to die with his decision. You know, so that to me, that's a big difference. That's a big difference because when injuries take your kids out, you as a coach, you can't foresee that. I mean, well, you try to look ahead and say, well, this is my number one. Hopefully, this number two will be able to step up in case something happens. But in a lot of cases, when you go to number two and then you down to number three, they're number two and number three for a reason now.
Mm-hmm.
They're 2 and 3 on your depth chart for a reason.
And then I'm grading you, Coach Pettaway. I'm grading you in terms of what's the attitude of the kids. Are they rolling over and playing dead? Or are they going out there and giving maximum effort, you know, each and every Saturday, each and every time out there on the field? You know, so for me, I ain't necessarily looking at wins and losses. They're going to come and go. But I am looking at the way our kids play. Are we developing these kids? You know, are they working hard? That's a direct correlation from the coaching staff. You know, have they tuned the coaches out? That sort of thing. You know, from an administrative point of view, I got to look at things from that perspective, you know, in order to be able to grade that program in its entirety. You know, and if the answer is, you know, these kids are giving all they have, you know, we probably still maybe a recruiting class or two away from getting it done, that sort of thing. You know, coach is very receptive to, you know, help. And, you know, I just need to continue to do the things necessary in order for help him be successful, la-di-da, so forth and so on. And then we keep it moving from there, you know. But the coach can't circle the wagon around himself to the point where he's not willing to accept constructive criticism, you know, and, you know, he's got to be receptive to everything that comes his way, you know. Now, quite naturally, if I got a non-football guy trying to explain to me and tell me what I need to do from a football point of view, you know, some coaches get a little peeved or upset behind that particular aspect of it. What he know about football, you know, that sort of thing and stuff. You can't go at it from that point of view. If you the coach, you know, you take it all with a grain of salt.
Right.
You know?
And see as a coach, when you're facing adversity, you need to be able to show your kids that you have not given up. If you don't give up as a coach, then your kids will stay positive and they'll stay with you and they will continue to do what you're talking about, Wheeler. They'll continue to fight. You will see the fight as the AD. Right. The fans will see the fight. Yep. They'll be like, well, look, these kids haven't given up because they're fighting, and they're fighting because their coaches have not given up.
They're looking at you, Coach Pettaway. They're looking at you. They're looking at you. And if you drop your head, you better believe they're going to drop there.
Drop there. Absolutely.
And while yours is maybe a little bit easier to get back up and get that chin up, you know, theirs, it'll take a crane to pull their heads back up.
Yep. So as coaches, as long as Coach Graves and that staff, if they stay positive and they try to pick out some of the positive things that those kids have done during the year, and then, like I said, I'm going to keep emphasizing this, you still got to correct the things that are correctable. All right, you still got to have discipline. Now, you know, the penalty, the self-inflicted pain, penalties, that can be corrected, man. That can be corrected. So they still got an opportunity to turn this thing around.
Charles, did we answer that?
Yeah, I mean, just, you know, I'm just reading the comments and hearing the noise. You know, when you talk about Southern University football, And of course, we're dealing with the same thing here. But I just look at what Southern is dealing with right now. And I know probably Jaguar fans don't care that the team was playing for the SWAC championship last year. It seems like it doesn't amount to anything now as you look back on it. In fandom, and it probably doesn't, because the Kansas City Chiefs won the 3 straight Super Bowls. They lost one and they struggled, and people are like, what's wrong with the Chiefs? And so that's just the way fandom goes. I get all of that. But it's just, when I look at Southern now, and you said it, Carlos, early on. I mean, when I look at Southern, first thing with Terrence Graves, that defense. Defensively is where I thought Southern would hold their hat, hang in there until the offense comes around. But you see what's happening with Southern defensively. But at the same time, when the offense continues to struggle, it puts pressure on the defense. Kind of like what we've got going on here as well. And so that to me, when I look at Southern from my perch, I just think that's probably is more of a disappointment, more so than anything. The fact that Southern defensively, last year they got off the field in the second half, fourth quarter, and overtime of games in which they won games that way. It's not the case this year. The offense has been a struggle, but I was expecting a little bit more defensively. And I think that's probably one of the first things that Coach Graves, being a defensive guy, has got to kind of continue to work and clean up until the offense gets it going. Your running game is terrific. Holly's terrific. That running game is terrific. But you got to be able to get decent quarterback play. And who is the quarterback? Jalen is Woods still in protocol. You've gone with 3 quarterbacks, and you're still trying to put that puzzle together, because you got to have a serviceable quarterback if you want to get anywhere. But I was thinking the defense would at least be tough, and it's been a struggle for them defensively.
Well, let's just put it out there. They're not. That is just being brutally honest. And I set the scenario up. Don't just look at this year. Look at the 3 previous years. Your defense was much stronger. Your offense still had hiccups. What you had 3. You played 3 quarterbacks, even when Dooley. The first year here. But they were able to make it to the Western Division. And make it to the championship, and they lost. Even last year, you still had some trouble and injuries with the quarterback situation. You got to the 3rd quarterback, which was Woods, right? And now he's had a concussion, I guess about 2 concussions in a season and a half. So I saw him on the sideline. He looked well, but I'm sure it's still precautionary.
He's still in protocol.
Well, he's not playing.
And you know what, Carlos? I'd rather for my kids to be aggressive and make mistakes than to be passive and be trying to play it safe. You know, so I say that to say I ain't playing my DBs 10 yards off the ball. If you're going to beat me, you're going to beat me any damn way. You know, so let me get up in your face. You know, let me initiate some contact right away. You know, let me get up in you right now. You know, I'd rather for you to go ahead and beat me right now, Carlos, than I'm laying back, trying to backpedal and all this sort of thing, trying to play position football, and then you still beat me. You know, so let me come up here and get some licks in and, you know, that sort of thing and stuff. Let me make it as difficult for you as possible. If you're going to beat me right now.
Yeah.
You know, don't beat me up. Beat me right now.
And what I said, it's a carbon copy from game 1 to last week games against the teams that are equally as good and better. They're going to expose that, and you still see it. Basically, the secondary was supposed to be the strongest unit on the defense. That's when the coaches came on and said. But they've struggled. But I still say up front, they lost some good quality people. And it's just tough. So, again, how you overcome adversity? Will you overcome adversity? Mentally, where you are. And you know, I spoke to someone high up. Basically said they do listen and hear what the fans say. Now, they didn't say that they agree with the fans, but they do hear the fans. And so with that being said, everybody's frustrated. Everybody frustrated. So the question again, can Southern move on? They got Bethune-Cookman and then homecoming.
What choice do they have, Carlos?
We'll come back in 2 weeks and see where we at.
Yeah.
You know, you could have 2 wins, or if you have 2 losses, then what is the mindset then if it's 2 losses and then you're 1 and whatever?
It's tough right now, Carlos. I mean, I think the key that's been talked about is blocking out the noise. It's very, very difficult to do, especially with a bye week like this. If Southern was playing at 6 o'clock tonight, I think it's easier to move on. But when you lose to your big rival in Jackson State for the 7th time, whatever it is, at home, national game and all of that, it is difficult for fans to move on. Just like right here, that Jackson State loss that we had at the end of the season, and I know we talked about it all off season, guys. Our fans are still talking about it. That's and so I get it from a fandom perspective. I get it. It's our big rival, just like Jackson and Southern's big rival. So social media helps drive this too. To help, social media will not let you forget. For those who are tapped into social media deeply, you read the comments, you watch what people say, you hear what people say. It's hard to block that stuff out. It really is. In this generation, we're on our phones, we're on X, we're on Facebook, we're reading the comments. And so it's very difficult to block it out. So a game would actually help you do that because you move on. But you lose to your big rival at home, another one-sided loss at home. People are like, what in the hell's really going on? And now people are talking, time for the coach to go, time for the AD to go. I disagree with all that, me personally, in watching that situation. I disagree. I think Graves is doing a decent job, and I do think Roman Banks is doing a good job. But it's tough right now. It really is. And you got to be able to find a way to continue to plow forward. So Bethune-Cookman's coming, Carlos. It's hard to win at Daytona Stadium. We struggled to do that when we had a really good team. They're going to be ready. You need to win that game. And then especially the week after that, I think you got Prairie View. You don't win those 2 games, Carlos, it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough in the next few weeks.
I may go on a hunger strike. I don't know. You know, but I try to, as we move into, we're in the second hour, I try to temper the emotion. Again, I often talk about trying to keep myself aligned. You know, you support the coach. Look, I'm always support Southern University, no matter what happens. I just want them now, from this point on, continue to get better. And I'm not even worried about the Western Division right now. It's more so of what you're going to do. Because we all face adversity. Alcorn hadn't won a game. Coach Pettaway is probably a little disappointed.
Yeah,
they went to Bethune-Cookman. We don't even talk about North Carolina A&T. That's just that's just going to be a fight. That's just a long fight that they're gonna have to do.
Yeah.
So what do? You know, you still have to support them, but you also have to call it the way you see it. And right now, undisciplined, penalties still a problem. Special teams. Oh, Zimmer hit 2 field goals. That was a good thing. They've kind of shored that up a little bit, but kickoff coverage, punt coverage. I still don't understand why are these pooch kicks going on. No, I'm serious.
No, you're
right. Now,
it may not be on purpose, Carlos.
Well, I was on here before, and then I've talked to my select few I talk with, my inner circle. We just come up with, it has to be something else. Is the kickoff coverage not good? Because you're giving up a short field when you do that. Against North Carolina Central, I'm going back in the past again. You got a big play. Holly breaks a long one off. Everybody's ecstatic. And then the kickoff is a pooch kick. Well,
can he kick it to the end zone, Carlos? Can he make does his leg strength? Can he get it there?
Damn well know he can kick to the 20. I know he can. But it was a pooch kick. You got a short field. The very next play, 52 yards. Touchdown. North Carolina Central pulled the momentum right back. Same thing with Jackson State. You 3 and out. Oh, you're looking good. And then you run into the punter. Those are the things that that's just frustrating. Okay, breathe in and breathe out. We got to take a time out. About 12:15 or 12:20, we're going to go to talk some basketball with Coach Kevin Johnson. And EA, I caught on to what you're saying. Same thing with FAMU. He says it's good to talk basketball in October. You know why he's saying that? Because the expectations of FAMU and Southern University, they have underachieved. I'm sorry. Those two come out. They have underachieved. And how are the FAMU fans feeling? I know how the Alcorn fans are feeling. It's brutal. You just gotta go on, march on, have some pride.
Well, you got who you got now, Carlos. You have who you have. You know, so you know if that's your guy at the helm, you know, like I said, you know, you just ride with him and ride it out, that sort of thing. Be there for him. You know, what can I do for you, la-di-da, so forth, so on, and you know, and try to keep it moving from there. But I understand, you know, the fans are the fans. You know, and hell, somehow, you know, we got to block that out. Administrative wise, we got to block that out. So I hear you. I hear the fans. I ain't listening to them, but I hear them. You know.
But Wheeler, both teams, FAM and Southern, got beat by better teams. That's gonna happen.
Exactly.
That's gonna happen. That's a part of.
Exactly.
That's a part of playing the game.
Ain't no crime.
You're gonna run against a team that's better than you, and you're gonna lose.
Ain't no crime. Ain't no crime.
Well, I think that's what makes our situation even more frustrating is the fact that take out Mississippi State, you got Northwestern State, you got Alabama A&M, and then you got UAPB. Were those teams just better than Alcorn?
I don't think so.
On that Saturday they were.
Watch that UAPB game.
Your mic going down. Calm down, Wheeler.
All right. Get him back after the break. We can get him back after the break.
But you know, let me say this. Yeah, we're supposed to have a break. Well, let's do the break, then we'll come back. Because I will say, you just can't dismiss the fans. They're part of the overall ambience.
Come on, Carlos. Why can't you dismiss them?
No, I'm not dismissing. No.
Why can't you?
You hear them out.
I hear them.
And you listen to them, and that is one of the things you sit down, like in education.
I hear them, Carlos.
Parents are always pissed off about something.
I'm not going to allow them to make a decision for me. I'm not going to allow them to sway my thinking.
Wait a minute, they're not going to make a decision.
I need to do. I can't allow that.
No, they're not making a decision, but they could come out. Perfect example. Sorry, Jackson State, but maybe you'll back me up on this. You remember they were so frustrated. What did they decide to do? They decided to say, we're not coming to the games.
And that's okay.
And whether that's wrong or right, that's immediate.
If your heart ain't in it, if you ain't die hard, if you don't bleed my colors, I don't want you there anyway. Don't come. Fair weather is not allowed in my world.
But Willa, but it's not all of the fans. We're just talking about some. Some still, and they are having a good old-fashioned debate on now. No, things haven't gone right. It's gone bad. But I'm still Columbia blue and gold.
Those are the people that I hear. I hear those people, Carlos.
Now, but they said that, but they also said penalties, offense, quarterback situation. They still asking valid questions. And so that's why constructive criticism is not bad.
Well, one thing,
I can criticize in this house all the time.
Got no problem with that, Carlos. My issue is those that want to fire the coach right now. He got to go. He stinks. All that sort of thing. I ain't trying to hear that nonsense. Don't even come my way with that negative attitude. Keep it over on the other side. I ain't got time for it. I got other things I got to concentrate on. You know, my coach is doing the best he can with what he has to work with. I got to make sure that I'm giving him the things necessary in order to be successful. And if you bleed the same colors I bleed, then you feel the same way. And if not, then just go talk to somebody that feel the way you feel.
Now,
And
if
go
I
ahead
was,
and keep it moving. Leave me
Kick
alone.
rocks.
Yeah.
now,
Well,
if I,
well,
this
I'm
sounds
not,
kind of strange. Me and Charles may be on the same side on this issue.
I'm not gonna
But
go
look,
down.
Charles, what I will say is I'm not. I don't have coaching experience. I don't have AD experience. But if I'm AD and I know the people that help this department financially, I would sit down and talk with them. And here's what I say. Yeah, I do hear what you're saying. And we're looking at the situation and we're addressing it.
And I'll
How,
say that
how,
too, Carlos. And
right.
I've said that more than I've cared to. And I've done that. You know, so you got to play the little political games, that sort of thing and stuff. I ain't being political right now. I'm being Wheeler Brown right now, okay, and telling you how I truly
I,
feel.
I,
You
I,
know,
I understand.
if you're not going to be in our corner, not my corner, our corner, you know, fully,
Mhm.
completely, then take that nonsense somewhere else, please.
Now, what I will say is I would answer all emails, and then something that you haven't seen, and I'm just not putting and judging somebody. If you feel that way, would you put out a public statement saying I'm still with the
Definitely.
coach?
If
Okay,
I feel
but
that
I don't hear anything.
if
I
I
don't hear
feel that it's
anything.
approaching that
You're not
point,
gonna hear that.
if I
You're,
feel that it's approaching that point, and I feel
Mhm.
yeah.
that that's necessary, of course, definitely. You
Yeah.
know, but it's something that as I go and talk to my alumni chapters, that sort of thing, you know, I'm ingraining that in them. There's no doubt about that. You know, and I know, you know, Coach
Mhm.
Banks is out talking to alums and visiting this chapter, that sort of thing. I'm making sure that they understand, that they know where I'm coming from as it pertains to the status, you know, of my coach. They're gonna know that. I'm behind him 1,000%. We want to continue to give him the things necessary in order to be successful. I hope you guys feel the same way, and are coming along with us. You know, better times ahead, good times ahead, so forth and so on. I'm preaching nothing but positives, Carlos, and then we're going to keep it moving from there.
Well, one thing I've learned, guys, about fans, and we've had a bunch of coaches during my time here, and you alienate fans, fans can definitely show you better than they can tell you. They can show you by not packing your stadiums. They can show you by not supporting on the road. They can show you by pulling their financial support. They can show you better than they can tell you. And that
And I'm gonna tell you, Charles, if that's the case, if your donation comes with stipulations, keep your money. I don't want it. I don't want it. And if that means that Mr. President is going to fire me on Monday, I will gladly pack my stuff up and get out of there as quickly as possible. Okay, because that's not a place I want to be. I see how the game is played, you know, and I've been in some situations, Charles, where it has kind of approached that particular avenue, so to speak, you know, and you know, sometimes, you know, as I told you guys during the week, sometimes from an AD's point of view, you know, you gotta weigh biting your tongue with paying the mortgage,
Right.
or telling the wife that, you know, baby, I said something today I probably shouldn't have said, and you know, I call a moving company because we're gonna have to go somewhere else, that sort of thing. You know, so it's a fine line that you as a lead athletic administrator got to take. Believe you me, I know, been there. You know, have tried to play that game. I'm not very good at it at all, by the way.
Mhm.
I would add that to it, you know. But you know, I mean, that's just something you gotta weigh. before you stick your neck out there, you understand it can be chopped off real easy, Charles. And, there have been some instances when I've had mine sliced and diced a little bit, but, it is what it is with that. Sometimes your values have to outweigh everything else. And I would hope that in those situations that, my coaches even today realize, Mr. Brown was a stand-up guy for us. He really fought for us, that sort of thing. The respect coming from them means more to me than anything else in the world.
Yeah.
And I can deal pretty much with anything else. I'm getting
Wow.
off my soapbox now, Charles. Carlos.
No.
I'm cool.
Check out
Down now.
check out the chat room. Boy, somebody's kicked off a firestorm. You have some that believes this way and believes that way. So with that being said, let me see if I can contact Coach Johnson. He was having practice today, and we'll see if we can still get him, and we'll go to a commercial. Then we'll come back and recharge. If we have Coach Johnson ready to go now, we'll go with him. If not, we need a few more minutes. We can kind of get into some of the SWAC Football Report and then finish the show off with the SWAC Football Report. Wow. What an interesting show. I love it. We'll be back after this timeout. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a state, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. Whether you're a student or a lifelong supporter, our gear lets you wear your HBCU story with confidence and style. Because when you wear HBCU Image, you're not just wearing clothes. You're wearing culture. You're wearing pride. You're wearing purpose. HBCU.
College football fans, the Cricket Celebration Bowl is celebrating 10 years of crowning an HBCU national champion. A champion will rise at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on December 13th as the MEAC and SWAC champions clash in Atlanta. Join us for championship football, interactive fan experiences, and iconic marching bands. It's an HBCU family reunion that you don't want to miss. See who will be crowned the next HBCU national champion. For event and ticket information, visit thecelebrationbowl.com.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. I'm Carlos Brown, of course, Charles Edmond. Coach Vann Pettaway, and the hardliner A.D. Wheeler Brown. Well, we do have Coach Johnson who's going to join us, but again, I appreciate the comments in the chat room, and they're going at it strong about fans and how important they are to the sports programs. I'll quickly just read a couple that are very interesting. Let's see. AD said, EA, I'm sorry. So when you call in and ask for money, I will replay this statement on rewind. Maximilian says, I can't speak for Southern, but I can speak for Jackson State. If you start losing, you're gone. Point blank. Greg Johnson says, Will, as a fan, I choose not to attend games. When you drive up to an empty stadium, what are you doing? Oh, and they're still coming in. Oh boy, let me we got Coach Johnson now, and we'll bring him in. A guy who in the chat room got a little criticism because they won the regular season, didn't win the tournament. I stood by Coach Johnson. Coach Johnson. Good afternoon, sir. How you doing?
Good afternoon, Carlos, to you. Coach Pett. Wheeler, good to see you guys.
Hey, Coach.
Man, I'm glad to be back with y'all, and Charles, glad to be here.
Yeah. Coach Johnson, not only do coaches have to have thick skin, so do podcast hosts. we get some criticism too.
That's the way of the world right now. It's a different world.
Yeah.
And Coach Johnson, we often talk about on the show how the sports culture has changed. Now, these guys here kid me about the Carlos Brown contract, which is 2 years and then you're gone. Coach Johnson, I never said that. I never said that. But it is, you have to win and win now. Mm-hmm. Years ago, you had the opportunity. 5-year contracts for coaches. Athletes had their scholarships, and you couldn't take them away. Mm-hmm. I remember one time Southern had a football player that got seriously injured. Like other schools, they kept his scholarship, even though he couldn't play anymore because of advice by the doctors. So it's just this coach is a tough time. Yeah. How do you deal with it? I know you're gonna say X's and O's. That's what I deal with, and about building the program. But how do you deal with the extra noise that comes in?
Yeah, it's it gets harder and harder. But just to be honest with you, and maybe Coach Pett can attest to this. I tell people all the time, this will be year number 36 for me, right? And when people ask me how many jobs if you have, you know what I answer? I tell them I've never really had a job. And so it's not about a paycheck, man. I do this because I love to challenge and push young men and try to help contribute to their lives in a manner that may help them go out into the world and be successful. That's first and foremost, right? Mm-hmm. And so if I can continue doing that, I can sleep at night. I feel good about it because that to me is big picture, right? Now, the job is to, to coach and obviously win games. And we've done that. I had a guy stop me in the grocery store 2 weeks ago. He said, if you had done what you did at Southeast Louisiana, you have a 10-year deal. I said,
what?
Well, look, I don't work at Southeast Louisiana.
See, you have to be professional because I don't know if I could have been that professional.
Yeah, but you know what, man? I love where I am. Like I said, I love what we're doing. And people ask me, hey, what happened in the tournament? I got to ask that, just day before yesterday, and to me, winning is a process, and I know what it's like to win a tournament, right? And so every time that you get an opportunity to do that, it's a process towards getting there. I don't want it the wrong way. I want it the right way, right? I want the building blocks to be in place. I want the foundation to be there. And so, that's what we're doing. And I tell these guys that every day when we go to practice. Hey, look, what happened last year was supposed to happen, right? But what we got to try to do is learn from it, and that's what it's about for me.
Yeah, a regular season championship that meant the world to me as a Southern alum, and you can see it now. I also, Coach Johnson, in private circles, and you don't have to comment on this. They are worried to death because they've had success with the basketball program, and they're moving forward. Oh, how can we keep him? We got to keep him. The ones I talk to, they really appreciate the job that you're doing, and I just tell them, you don't worry about that. If the day comes, you say the coach improved the program and he left it in a better position, then that's all you can ask for, because everyone has goals. But appreciate the job that you've done so far, and you're still looking to get better. That's what I love.
Yeah. Hey, look, I know this, right? I know I've got more years in basketball coaching behind me than in front of me. And what I'm going to do, man, I'm going to enjoy this experience. I love, like this place. I grew up on this campus, so to speak. So to have a chance to represent it as a head basketball coach, I want us to be successful. And you said something there that struck me. It's a fight every day to try to make it better, for whoever's next. And we're in the process of building a film and media room. We haven't had a film and media room in this beautiful mini dome. I'm excited about trying to get this project finished. And it's about halfway done. So we're just gonna keep diving in and keep working, man. Just try to make it better.
Right. Coach Johnson, what I know it's early in the preseason, but what are you excited about with this team?
I think the thing that helped us last year, we may not have had the most talented team, but boy, I thought we were deep. I think this team has the opportunity to be deeper. It wouldn't look that way right now, Coach Pett, because if you came to practice, we got one out with a concussion, one with a swollen knee, and we're kind of a little bit banged up right now. This morning was our 8th practice, right? And so, but I think this team has the ability to be deeper than we were last year. We did a lot of platoon substituting. So I'm excited about the possibility of that, but there's a lot of work that has to take place before we get there.
All right.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting, because I thought the depth was there last year. I read a stat that I think Southern led the nation
in bench
points. In bench points. Yes.
Yeah.
And so, you lost a couple of players. That's the way it is now. But talk about some of the new players we'll get a chance to see.
Yeah, we lost a couple, but I think we were able to, replace what we lost. One young man who has been terrific in practice, and especially the last 4 is a post player we got that was at Lamar last year, right? Terrence is, he is doing a great job right now, and so. There's some other guys, Malik Abdul-Gawad, who started for UMass last year, has done a good job in the preseason. And one young man I was really excited for to get to the floor, he's out with a dislocated shoulder. I'm a little concerned because Rondé Hill from Shreveport was the freshman of the year in that Division II league up there out of Henderson State last year. And he's explosive and he can score that ball. So we need to get him back. But those are 3 guys who I've been kind of really excited about coming into this year.
Because the last time you talked about the young man, 6'7", I think he originally signed with, Kansas State from Mississippi?
Right.
Go ahead, Coach.
Ashton McGee, phenomenal athlete, and boy, he shows flashes of really being a good player, but he's the one who's out right now with a concussion. So I need to see more of him,
Yeah, because concussions are serious protocol.
Very.
And you don't want to rush them back, and then something happens, then you're liable.
That's right.
So I'm thinking about Jalen Woods, who's had kind of the same thing with the quarterback. people's like, why? When is he going to come back?
Mhm.
If it takes the rest of the season to be off, so be it, because
Yeah.
you don't want to be in a position to
Yeah.
hurt the young man.
Yeah, you don't want to put these young men in jeopardy of having some some damage down the line, and that's one of the things the doctors watch very closely today, especially if you get to the point where you've had multiple, right?
Yeah.
Because I have heard some cases where there have been some student athletes that they're on their third and fourth concussion, and the doctor, hey, look, you need to shut it down. It's not that important, right? So we definitely don't want to get there.
Yes, sir. Coach Johnson, I did peek at the schedule a little bit. It is what it is. But one of the things I like, you guys competed. You had two good quality wins last year, Tulsa and Louisiana Tech. So another tough schedule.
Yeah.
But I hear most people say it you can't let it destroy you. You can use it to prepare yourself for conference play. Is that the same?
Yeah, that's the
situation?
goal. That's the goal. But I wish you had done more than peek at it. I want you to study it. Because the guy who made that schedule, he got to have a little bit of a screw loose because
Oh!
man,
So it's tougher than last year. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who else might have a tougher schedule, but if it's tougher than that, man, that's biting off
Right.
the chunk right there.
Yeah, Coach, when I looked at it, man, Arkansas, Marquette, University of Washington, then Texas.
Yeah.
I was like, when I looked at this, I said, what the devil is Baylor? I said, what is Illinois? I said, what Coach Johnson? What's my buddy doing? What's he doing to himself?
Well, I hope you spread the word, Coach, that Coach
Well, I've
Johnson
seen it
got to raise
before.
a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, Wheeler, don't you say a word. Don't you say a word.
Bless you, Coach. Bless you,
Yeah.
Coach.
I appreciate it, Will. I appreciate it.
Oh, come on, Wheeler. Yeah. We don't want to go back into it. We've talked about it a lot, about being balanced with those schedules.
Right.
And I've had a couple of people told me they're getting season tickets for the first time.
So that's awesome. I feel like we had a great home court advantage last year. Led the league in attendance, right, for the second straight year, and hopefully we can do that again. But man, we need those fans, because you're not going to play your best every night. And sometimes it's just that one spurt, one run, and the fans pull you over the hump. That helps you get that game.
Yeah,
that is true, and Louisiana Tech and Tulsa impressive because it was on their court.
Yeah.
I would bet to say, Coach Johnson, they probably not gonna. Well, Louisiana Tech may play you again, but probably Tulsa, I don't know.
They won't. And Coach Pett, back to that schedule again. What happens is, and I don't know if you guys are aware. So all the P4s and these high majors, they have bought the scheduling software, right? And so there's some factors that they look at before they would even consider playing you, right? And so I thought we had a game with Texas Tech. I thought we had a game with Cincinnati, and it was taking some time for those to come through. And then I finally started asking questions. Hey, what's going on? And so one coach told me, he said, look, man, here's the deal. The league has, in the last 2 years, your league has won 6 bye games. I said, okay, he said, well, you won 4 of them, Southern won 4 of them.
Yeah.
He said, we've looked at that Mississippi State game time and time again, right? That's 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And so he goes, well, we don't want to play you, right? He said, y'all change defenses, y'all run plays out of timeouts. And I'm like, man, isn't that Coach Pett?
Oh, God.
So that's what your expectation of the guys in this league? Because I'm telling you, man, we got some great coaches in this league. And this is going to be an exciting year for SWAC basketball. But is that what y'all expect of us? Not to call plays and not to change defense and things like that? He said, so we're not going to play you. So it was difficult to pull this to get together. but we also tried to make a couple of 2-year deals where we can get more into balance next year. But that's a tough schedule this year, and I'm assuming we're not the only one in our league that's going to have to do that.
Well, Coach, I
No.
can't blame him. I can't blame him. I ain't gonna give you 80, 90,000, and then you come in and beat my butt too. Come on, that's insult on injury right there.
Yeah,
I mean, I can't, I can't fault them for that. But
I
right.
can't.
you're a victim of your own reputation. So
Oh
take
man,
that as a badge of honor, and keep it moving. Go to the next one.
Wheeler, I appreciate it because some battles you just can't fight, right?
That's
Oh,
true.
yeah.
That's true.
Well, Coach, I do have a question for you about that. So,
Shoot,
with your
Charles.
is it become harder to get a quality schedule together because teams are vetting our teams now, vetting the Southerns and the Alabama States who won the tournament and the Jacksons and even the Alcorn. Our coach talked about the fact that because of where we are on the RPI totem pole, I mean, because it works the other way too. When you're so low, it kind of hurts a team, especially if you wind up beating them. Is it harder to schedule now?
That is a factor, right? It's definitely harder. But here's the thing, and you like it, but you don't like it. I've talked to several coaches that say, "Hey, look, we're not playing you. We're not playing Jackson. We're not going to play Bethune.
Wow.
We're not going to play Alabama A&M now." And so they start this going down the list, right? And shoot, man, again, kudos to this league. I mean, man, these guys in this league, man, look at that Alabama State team last year, boy. You talk about a team, wow. Yeah. And I mean, it's a great league, and so I just think it's going to get more and more difficult to schedule games unless we have some kind of scheduling alliance.
Yes, that's something to talk about too. And then within the states, you got ULM, of course, Louisiana Tech, Nicholls State, Southeastern, which they've played in the past. Is there a possibility with the shift of what you just talked about? Will the future schedules kind of maybe just a little bit lean toward those in-state schools, McNeese, UNO?
We like to do that. The only one that I thought we had that had some interest in playing last year was McNeese. We couldn't work out a date. This year we do have Northwestern State on the schedule, so I'm excited about that. And we're going to do a 2-year deal with them. But Southeastern was a school that Southern has played typically every year in the past. We owe them a game right now, and actually we owe them a home game. And so my first year we played them and couldn't work it out last year and couldn't seem to work it out again this year. But, it just helps us if you can play some non-conference games in your region, right? Especially with similar competition. It helps us. So we need to continue to try to do that.
I would agree with that. We're visiting with Coach Kevin Johnson, who's graciously stepped off the court to come talk with us. And what I like about you, Coach Johnson, you tell it like it is. You give your opinion, but also you give facts with it. And just like Southern's women basketball team, I'm sure they're going with a lot of pressure because I got a chance to briefly see them. And Coach, I almost ran out the door. I was impressed. I mean, they are some good-looking athletes. So the expectations. How you deal with that? Because sometimes expectations with our fan base, I'm kind of puzzled. I know fans are fanatics, but the expectation part and the reality part, how do you deal with that?
2 things. Number one, there are never going to be higher expectations from the outside than we place on ourselves, right? Starting with me and the staff and the players, we expect to be good, right? And so those are going to be your highest standards. But I can remember even going back to the press conference when I had just got hired here, I had met Pete Richardson for the first time. And I was so excited to meet him because, like I said, I love what he did here. He won a lot of games, And he said, "Coach, fan base here, extremely passionate, very passionate. He said, can be your biggest friend, but also can be your biggest enemy. I now know what that means.
Yeah, he told me that off the record one time interviewing him for the radio program.
Mm-hmm.
And it's how much you have to get a balance to
Right.
it. But I know your main job is X's and O's, helping young men to get better.
Right.
But sometimes I find it difficult to try to keep that balance even with our show. We appreciate the input and the constructive criticism, but sometimes you just have to come out and tell it like it is.
Right. And look, shoot, it's gonna be difficult times, right? You gotta, part of what we want to teach these young men is, how to overcome some difficulty and some challenges, right? And so if we have to do that as a staff, then we can help these young men understand that, because if you live long enough, you're gonna have one or two challenges.
Yeah. We're visiting with Coach Johnson, Kevin Johnson, the men's basketball coach at Southern University. We went a little bit over the schedule, and I will do my homework. I peeked at it, but I should have paid more attention to the non-conference schedule, because I know the conference schedule, it's still the same. And it's a pet peeve of mine, Coach. Once again, Prairie View and Texas Southern to start out the conference. I'd like to mix it up a little bit, but
yeah, I think we ran into some time constraints really this year. We changed the tournament format, so all the teams are going to the tournament, and so to get a conference season in and still get the tournament in, it was a little bit more challenging than it's been in the past. So but we got to control what we control, Carlos.
Yeah, that's a good saying.
On that note, as far as conference games, do you think because of the tournament being what it is right now, I thought maybe we could at some point go to playing some conference games in December to try to fit the calendar in? Is that something that you all have talked about? Is it being discussed?
That was an option. Just me personally, I don't like playing conference games in December. I know you have a lot of leagues that do that, right? Just so they can get the games in, right? But to me, in a perfect world, instead of maybe playing an 18 games schedule, maybe 16 might be best for our league, because what you want to put on the floor when you get to your tournament, you want to put your best product. And the way it's going to work now, I don't even know if teams coming into the tournament, say you're a high seeded team, I don't even know if you will be able to practice actually in the arena. And so during March Madness, to me, it's all about the stage, the show that the SWAC puts on. I mean, we want our best basketball to be at that time of the year, to be on television. And so it's kind of hard to do that by cramming in these games and then not having an opportunity to at least even, get the feel for the arena where your conference tournament is, which I like it being in Atlanta, and I think it's the perfect size arena.
But Coach Johnson, I don't know, boy, I hope I don't get in trouble, but we've had some debates about the student athlete and opportunity. all 12 teams, I just don't like it. And I still say the regular season is still important. But I may be in the minority on this, but 10 teams is tough. 12 teams is tough.
Right. Right. Well, it is tough, and the only way it's possible, you're 1 and 2, obviously going to have to get a double bye just to even be able to get through it, right? But it is tough. We'll see what it's like this year, how it works, and experiment with it, and see how it goes. But we got to control the things that we can control, and that's getting the best seed possible, and and trying to defend this regular season championship, because that's a difficult task in itself.
So a double bye is what
should be for 1 and 2.
Okay, but they hadn't said it yet, right? Officially?
Yeah, the bracket. I think the bracket.
Okay. They put a bracket out there. Yeah,
okay.
You're going to get that double bye. Yeah.
That makes me feel a little bit better.
And Carlos, that goes back to that's why the regular season actually matters, because you want to get the best seed possible.
That's right.
So you can advance in the tournament. That's the whole purpose of this thing. Yep.
Reward the number 1 and number 2 seed as much as you can. And so, because anybody can get hot, I understand that.
Right.
But you want to have your best representation in the tournament, the NCAA tournament. Alabama State, as Coach Johnson said, pretty good. Yep. Southern would have made it. I think it would have been a good representative as well.
Right.
Because they played hard. And that's the thing, in the toughness. That's what I like in the depth of Southern's basketball team last year, Coach Johnson.
Yeah. Appreciate you saying that. But there are a lot of teams that would have represented as well. Jackson had a heck of a year. They finished right behind us, and that just made for a great competitive league. And I think we're gonna have another competitive regular season this year. I mean, the table's set for it.
That's great. And now all we need now for this good recipe of a gumbo is to tweak those non-conference schedules. And Willa, don't say anything. Not so many of those type of games. Let's have balance with
everything in moderation, Carlos. Everything in moderation.
Well, we got $1 million, Coach Johnson. We got $1 million in guarantees with Alcorn's schedule. We just officially rolled it out a few days ago. I had a copy of it, but we got $1 million in guarantees. We don't have a game at home until we open the first 3 in conference on the road: Alabama State, A&M, and Jackson. So we won't be playing a home game for a while.
Right. Charles, we're not far from you. And to me, with our league, I think that's the norm, somewhere around 700 and up. So we're not far from you. But let's what I would say is let's make this, the best year yet. And let's keep moving this league forward, man. Outstanding coaching and, looking at some of these rosters, the recruiting, the rosters that are built, or this is a mid-major league. So it's about time to get it. Let's show the world.
Yeah,
I would agree with that, Coach Johnson, and I'll add my thing with that money. Willa, again, don't say anything. I would like to have as much, I'll put it that way, go back into that program as possible. I know, Coach Johnson, you don't have to say anything. That's from administrative side.
Sure.
Well, it should be coming on the front end, Carlos. Should be coming on the front end. That's already built in there. Like Coach Johnson was talking about the media room and all that sort of thing and stuff, film room and all that kind of stuff. All those things should already be on the drawing board. So I shouldn't have to wait until the guarantee money comes in order for these things to take place. These are things that, incrementally, we're working into the budget as we go along, that sort of thing. Coach, what you need going into this year, let's see what we can do in order to make this happen, that sort of thing. So that things like that are not going to be contingent upon whether or not he brings in $1 million from a guarantee point of view. So, he bring in $1 million, that's just that much more money that volleyball is going to be able to have. Maybe softball going to be able to have a few things that, maybe they want or looking at, that sort of thing. But his needs, the things that he wants, the things that Coach Graves wants, the things that the women's coach wants, those things are automatically built into, the budget. So we want to try to improve their areas on a yearly basis, that sort of thing. And, that's something that's always going to be ongoing.
So you won't commit to 5% to go back to the program that's right. You're not going to do it, Will.
Money already spent.
Gotta be more than 5%, Carlos. More than 5%.
I was starting low and I was working up to 20.
Yeah,
but I know
Will thing up around 35 or 40% is what basketball is.
Coach Pett, man, that's why I love you, man. You backing those coaches up.
Yeah. I know the struggle. So
right.
75%.
And speaking of struggle, Coach, I just want to commend you, man, for the job that you're doing. Keep up the good work, man. You and these other coaches in the league are the reason why the SWAC has moved up so much, man, and I'm real proud of you all. And I look forward to seeing your teams again, man. I just love watching the passion that your teams play with, and the love that you and your coaching staff are pouring into those kids, man. Keep up the good work.
Yep. I appreciate you saying that, and thank you guys, man, for helping keep our league relevant. And man, keep doing what y'all do, man. And anytime, Carlos, you want me to come and visit, you got me, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now I got to talk to some of our Southernites who agree with Wheeler. Wait a minute. Well, Coach Johnson, we appreciate the time, and we look forward to seeing you back on the show soon. And best of success this season.
Yep. Thank you. We appreciate it. Hope to see you guys soon.
Oh, yeah.
Take care,
right.
Coach.
Thank you, Coach
All
Johnson.
right,
I'm gonna have to talk to Edward now. Edward's agreeing with Wheeler a whole lot this show. What's going on? But that, I always like talking with Coach Johnson. He's a straight shooter, and again, I appreciate Wheeler's comments. He keeps me. He tries to keep me grounded, Coach Pettaway, and that's what I bank on. You guys' experience in the administrative side, the coaching, and Charles. Also, Charles, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. He doesn't like for you to say that, but he will.
Charles need to be an AD, man. That's what that is. Charles needs to be an AD, man.
No, sir.
That's true. I agree.
No,
Don't
sir.
do it. Don't do
No,
it.
sir. I'm staying in my doggone lane. Being old on that. That's
hey, Charles, you ain't got to worry about losing your hair, so you all right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But
I've worked with a bunch of. I know what our ADs are going through. It is tough. I wouldn't wish that on too many people. It's tough, but with our situation and budget, you got to have money. We all know we're all corny on that pecking order. It's tough. We make, just like you said, Wheeler. We do a lot with less. We would love to have more, and so it's a tough deal.
It's called the Rumpelstiltskin theory. You have to make gold with straw.
Yep.
And yeah, I get it. They do have a tough job, but something what Coach Johnson said, and I think if you ask the other coaches, it's the same in ADs. Well, at least the coaches, they do it for the love of the game because they enjoy doing it. Because Wheeler always throws shade about Southern and the biggest budget. But necessarily doesn't mean you have great success with the largest budget. But you should be in the discussion. And
you still got needs, Carlos. You still got needs.
Yeah.
Regardless of how big your budget is, you still got needs.
And that's why.
So that part's not going to change.
Yeah, and that's why I'm going to continue to say it every time. I need more for the teams that are going out and raising the money to help others. I'm going to still fight for that. Wheeler, I come in your office, you'll tell me, explain it. You'll keep telling me no. I'm going to keep coming in and still getting my point across unless you fire me. And I know if me and Charles were in the AD position, he would last much longer than me. I just feel that way because, I'm going to be professional. I'm going to be professional. But I'm just going to speak my mind. So that's why.
And I'm going to say, Carlos, what is it that you need? What you need? Let's see what we can do. Yeah. Let's see what we can do.
And that's fair enough. Fair enough.
And, if we can stretch it in somehow, that sort of thing, then, we'll go and get it done. If I say, well, Coach, it may take me a couple years in order for us to get the dollars necessary to do this, but we're going to get it done. Then you can trust that. It's going to happen, that sort of thing. So I'm just not going to dismiss you and, look, get that nonsense out of here and all that sort of thing. You wouldn't bring it to me if it was nonsense, and most coaches don't. They bring stuff in that they want to have, for the good of the kids, that sort of thing. One thing we all in agreement about, we want to do best thing we can do by the kids. Right. There's no doubt about that. And if you bring something to my desk, that's going to improve the lot of those kids, then I'm gonna try my damnedest in order to get it done.
Right.
Well, and I will add again, it's also important that the fans are heard. They're part of all of this, and we move on together. We sink or we die together. Where did I hear that from?
Hey,
Oh,
hey,
lean on me.
Speaking of the fans, how they gonna feel about these games this weekend?
Well, we got about 7 minutes. We got to blow and go.
Yeah.
Here we go. That's right, Coach Pettaway. Last week, September 27th, Bethune-Cookman over Alabama A&M, 41-34. Alabama State over FAMU. I saw that game. That was a good old-fashioned butt whipping.
Yeah.
And Alabama State, they solid on offense. They're strong on defense. And Andrew Body runs it like a point guard. He's in control of the team, and he doesn't hurt the team. So, EA, that's why we had a Southern coach on to talk about the positives of a basketball season that is yet to start. Prairie View A&M over Grambling State, 28-13, and it was Arkansas Pine Bluff over Alcorn State, 24-20. I try to tune in to all of the broadcasts.
Right.
Charles, you could tell you were disappointed. And Dean Barnes, wow, I'm like Dean Barnes. Let's hand the ball off and let's get out of here. But very disappointing. Quickly, FAMU, Alabama State. That was also could have been called the game of the week. Alabama State is for real, Coach Pettaway.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
They are for real. And Jackson State, I know you're on cloud 10. But I told one of the content creators that follows Jackson State, be very leery of Alabama State. You know, play your game, but don't be so high where you think that game is so much winnable and you can name the score. That's going to be an interesting game. Fellas, quickly, what do you think about the Alabama State and FAMU game?
I thought it was dominant performance. Dominant.
That was what I call a woodshed moment. That was a woodshed moment.
Oh, take them to the woodshed, huh?
FAMU's got some issues they got to get fixed, and they got to get fixed right now.
Well, ESA coaches don't put in the contract to get 20-30% of out-of-conference games going back to them. They don't put in their contract. They should. But anyway, we'll talk about that again. This week's schedule got some big games as I pull it up here.
Game of the week in the Western Division right here. Alcorn and Prairie View at 3:05 on SWAC television.
Right, that's a good one. And I hate to say it, but I think Prairie View on the road is going to take that one. That's the way I see that one.
The Panthers are 2-0.
Go ahead,
Carlos. No, I say I think Prairie View is going to go on the road and beat Alcorn.
Quickly.
All right, Wheeler.
Yeah, go ahead, Wheeler.
I'm tending to lean towards Prairie View simply because they got momentum right now. You know, but Alcorn needs it badly. There's no doubt about that, especially at home. Especially at home.
It's interesting. First home game. How are they mentally? They have improved, you know, offensively, but defensively, they still have some issues to address. I'm gonna say Prairie View is gonna win, but I don't think it's gonna be a big difference in the score. Yeah, I think it's gonna be closer than some will think. Quickly, Charles.
We got to get some better quarterback play from Jalen Tolbert, our quarterback, in terms of running the football. He can sling it, but he's got some length to run. He's got to take advantage of it.
All right.
Since I'm having issues here,
Bethune at Bama State today at 2:00. I got Bama State. Bethune's playing well, but I don't think they're going to Montgomery and win.
Yeah, they're going with a little momentum, Wheeler. I think they're going to be high and mighty, but I think they're going to get smacked in the nose.
I think Bama State's going to soften them up for you guys for next week, Carlos.
Yeah. Wheeler, I don't know about that one.
Alabama State home.
you taking Bama State, Charles?
Yeah, I'm taking Alabama State at home. Yep.
All right, next up, we got Arkansas Pine Bluff at Texas Southern.
Arkansas Pine Bluff is flying a little high, and Texas Southern, they could be a better team, but the record doesn't show it. It's at Texas Southern?
Yeah, it's at Texas Southern.
I'm going to go out on a limb with Tatterbox and say Texas Southern gets a win.
Okay, I'm in agreement. What you got, Willa?
I got Texas Southern also.
All right.
I got Arkansas Pine Bluff.
Okay.
I saw what I need to see from UAPB. I don't think TSU's all there yet. I got UAPB.
All right, last game. Jackson State at Alabama A&M in Mobile, neutral site.
Ooh. Will Jackson State head be a little bit bigger than usual after a big win over their rival, Alabama A&M? Is the quarterback, the starter, coming back?
No. Well, he did not practice this week. They left Thursday. He had not practiced Wednesday morning.
JSU with the win. Jackson State.
I got to go with Jackson. Definitely go with Jackson.
Charles, you got him too?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because he's not playing, I got to go with Jackson State also. Now that's all of this week's games, Carlos.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. And it's less than a minute to go, so we want to thank everyone in the chat room. Let the discussions continue. Edwin, you will be getting a personal phone call. and we'll have a good old-fashioned talk at some point today. Want to thank Melanie back from a cruise.
Oh, Melanie.
All right,
Melanie.
All right.
Melanie, I will give you a personal call later on as well. Until next Saturday at 11 a.m. for another edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Until next time, peace and God bless.